Hello everyone. So in this video we're going to look at ruching, which is a way to gather parts of your cloth from the bottom up and get interesting texture on the face side of your cloth, on the knit side of your cloth, although you also can get interesting textures on the purl side of your cloth. Some of you have done this in class, some of you didn't, no problem, but you should all be at a point where if you want to try this out, you can. So I've gone ahead and I have knit a whole bunch of cloth. And I'm going to hang some cloth from over here. I'm going to ruche it. So I took this weight off, although I left this one on. One of the things we have to be careful about with this is that we're not really like fiddling with the cloth and popping it up. Every time we pull the whole cloth up like this, the stitches can kind of easily jump off the needles, right? It's a little bit dangerous for them. So that's why I left this weight on over here, just there's still something kind of holding it down. So I'm going to find some stitches from below, and I'm going to hang them up on the needles here. If I'm not sure, if I want to do it very orderly, but I'm not sure, like, where does this stitch belong? A way you can do it is just take your transfer tool, put it on the needle that you want to find, that you want to put your new stitches on, your hung stitches on, and just follow that loop all the way down. Knit stitches are just loops built on loops built on loops, and so I can follow them all the way down until I get to where I want to be hanging. And a big part of knitting is just learning how to look at and read the cloth. Okay, so I'm going to hang this stitch up on here, and notice how this stitch is like really stretching. The more stitches side by side that I put on here, the more the weight of the cloth is redistributed. And after it's knit, it won't stretch quite so much. So I can go all the way across if I want like a true fold. I can go edge to edge, and that will just give me a fold right in the middle of my cloth. Or I can just do sections, which will give me more like asymmetric texture across the cloth. So I'm going to put my weight here. I'm going to hang a couple more over here. Now, the lower down I go, I pull my stitches from, the thicker the little fold or pinch on the front side of the cloth is going to be. So if I just want it to be subtle, maybe I only pick from 5 rows down. If I want it to be very like dramatic and exaggerated, maybe I do 20 rows. Let me hang my weights, knit across. I'm going to go nice and slow. I should always be going nice and slow, but you're doubling up the stitches on the needles. Focus. So it can be a little difficult for the machine to come across. So you want to really listen to your machine. If you have to force it, it's not working. Sometimes a bigger stitch size can help if you're working with a thicker yarn, and just kind of keep that in mind. So I'm going to come this way. I'm going to knit a few more rows. And then I can keep going. When I get very comfortable doing this, I can actually use my 2-prong transfer tool and slip 2 on at a time. Also, remember, when you're using the transfer tools, like use the engineering of the tools to help you. So you can just slip the little turtlenecks onto your transfer tool and then put the eyes of the transfer tool into the hooks, use your thumb, and just flip it up. I can even use my 3-prong transfer tool if I want to. And then knit across it. Now, the more dramatic I want this effect to be, the more rows I'm going to have to put in between, pulling them up. And the other thing to keep in mind is, because I'm pulling the cloth up, you can see it's really shortening my cloth. So, you know, it really is physically pulling that cloth up and shortening it. So we have to kind of keep that in mind when we're designing for this. You're going to use more yarn and it's going to take more rows to get a certain amount of cloth done. And I'm just going to show you on this side, I'm going to do a few where I just take single stitches because you may actually like the effect of that on the purl side of the cloth. And that's always okay. If there's something that you typically don't do, but you like the look of it, so long as your cloth has integrity and can stay together, it's fine. Like, those are your design decisions, and you just go with it. So there you can see where I've got the single stitches. The fabric on the knit side of the cloth, it won't come out so much because these are being stretched, so this is being allowed to relax. It's not being like pulled up and pinched. But on the purl side of the cloth, you get that, which can be really interesting. Okay, I'm just going to bind off, and then I'll take the cloth off and you can see what the front of it looks like. Before I bind off, though, I'm going to give you a little warning. It's very tempting, while you're doing this, to want to be looking underneath your cloth to see what it looks like. When we do that, though, sometimes we have a habit of grabbing all the cloth and like lifting it right up. And what this can do is stitches can get caught on the gate pegs, stitches can get caught on the hooks, but also these stitches here can pop off the machine. So if you do want to look at it, what I tend to do is I pull down a little bit and I make sure this cloth is still coming down, and then I flip up the front piece. And I'm not flipping it right over onto the machine. And the other thing you can do is just like get down underneath the machine and take a look at it from behind. Just be very careful about those hooks on the machine when you're coming back up. Give the machine a wide berth. Okay, now I'm going to mind that. So I've taken this cloth off the machine. I'm going to give it, you can see what it looks like freshly off the machine. I'm going to give it that tug and pull to set the stitches. And so you can see everywhere these ridges are from where I pulled the rows up from underneath and popped them up. So this is the one, you know, I went right straight across 7 or so stitches in a row. And I pulled up quite a few rows, and so it's this very clear fold and pinch. This more sort of subtle rippling is me grabbing like 2 or 3, even 1 stitch at a time. It's not that many rows in between. And you can see also here where I've done the pulling more beside one another with more rows in between. You can see how that's shortening the cloth more than on the side. So play around with it. You can make some like quite interesting effects. You can even make little like pockets on the sides of it. And you can combine this with ladders and with picots and make some really interesting pieces of textured cloth. So that's all. Thanks!